Hello students, welcome back to this series of Lax Purana. Now in this series, the fourth day, that so far we have discussed the concepts of urbanization, the concepts of women and women organization, and again the concepts of salient features. Today we are going to discuss about the poverty and population. This is going to be today's topic, that with respect to, we will see what are the dimensions that are to be included in the notes on the basis of the previous year questions. And when we look at this previous year questions on this basis of poverty and population, now we have to see that we will have a separate notes on each of this. Right? The way you need to make notes with respect to this is one aspect with respect to poverty, one aspect with respect to population, and the third dimension is what is the relation that is existing between the population and poverty. And when you look at this poverty, again very simple. Then the first dimension we will talk about is what is the definition of this, and we will also have to see what is the status of poverty. And once we see this, what is the status of poverty, what are the causes of poverty, and then what are the consequences of poverty. We will see this, what are the consequences of poverty. And apart from this, the next dimension that you are supposed to include as part of poverty is that what are the measures taken to tackle poverty. It might be your self-employment the measures, or it might be your wage employment measures. Right? So once we discuss this, then again population as a topic. And when you look at population as a topic, the dimensions that you are supposed to include, that what is the status. Status fundamentally means what is the decadal growth rate, what is the annual growth rate with respect to the Indian population, what is the trajectory, what is the direction in which, what is the pattern of growth that is seen with respect to the Indian population. And apart from this, if you have to look at certain characteristics of Indian population, you can talk about what is the sex ratio, what is the child sex ratio, what is the infant mortality rate, what is the maternal mortality rate. All these dimensions can be discovered, and also you can talk about what is the demographic composition with respect to children, with respect to old age, with respect to the youthful section, because you know when you look at the demographic composition, for children it is around 14%, for youthful section it is around 60%, and for the senile section it is around 8%. So the dimensions you have to see, this is as per 2001, as per 2011, how is it varying? You have to look at that particular dimensions, right? Then once we see the status, then you have to look at what are the causative factors of growing Indian population, because you know that Indian population is anticipated to be going to be the largest country with highest population by 2026. That means there are certain factors which are leading to the Indian population being of such a magnitude. Then immediately talk about what are the consequences with respect to such a magnitude of population. Once we understand what are the consequences, then we will also have to talk about what are the measures to be taken. And in this context of measures, one dimension that you can specifically include when you are writing notes is what are the population policies. It might be a 1970s, 1980s or 2000 policy which has been come up with respect to this, and what is the corresponding impact on the Indian population. Whether they have realized in controlling the Indian population or not. That has to be seen. That has to be seen. So what happens is, we have to talk about even the population policies. Once you include this dimension when you are making your notes, then the third dimension that you are supposed to see when you are making your notes is poverty and population. What is the relation? What is the relation? You see that this is going to be a cyclical concept. You would realize that poverty and population go hand in hand. Because when you look at states like Bihar, when you look at states like UP, when you look at the northern belt, the total fertility rate is around 3.8, which is a direct indicator of what is the extent of the poor population there. The poor socio-economic population is leading to higher total fertility rate, 3.8. That relation, that cyclical concept you would see. So that has to be made notes about. So in this topic, in these topics, the notes has to have these dimensions. And you will see beautifully that UPSC previous year questions are completely based within this ambit, nothing out of it. Nothing out of it, completely in this ambit. Now when you look at this, let's see some previous year questions and we'll go for one model question. Now when you look at these questions, discuss the main objectives of population education and point. That means it is emphasizing about indirectly that education as a measure with respect to the controlling of population, or with respect to what is the emphasis of the population policies vis-a-vis the education. Then The COVID pandemic accelerated class inequalities and poverty in India. It is asking about poverty standalone question with respect to the causative factors, and it is also asking about the out-of-pocket expenditure driving the poverty, because in India out-of-pocket expenditure is around 70%, which is driving the population towards poverty. Right? Then when you look at this, again, so many programs have been implemented with respect to poverty, but why is it still existing? Again, don't you think it is within the ambit with respect to what are the measures taken and what are the challenges in realizing those measures? Again, within the ambit of the notes. Yes, then essential condition to eradicate poverty, whether growing population is the cause of poverty. See 34th question, they are asking that what is the existing relationship between the population and poverty. That's the third dimension that we have discussed when we are making our notes. See, my dear, your previous year questions are a beautiful directive when it comes to what should be in your notes, what should not be in your notes. You might be perplexed. You might be perplexed what should be written, what not to be written. This is all you are supposed to write. We are just decoding it. Now let's look at one model question. Is that critically examine whether growing population is the cause of poverty or poverty is the main cause of population. That means, is poverty leading to population? This is one dimension. Or is population leading to poverty? This is the second dimension it is asking. Very, very simple question again. Here what you have to do, you can, if you have to add little value, you can talk about the Malthusian theory. Because Malthusian theory fundamentally talks about, in his essays on population, he talks about the relation that is existing between the socio-economic profile and the population. So that can be discussed. Then when you look at the first dimension, you can say that growing population as the cause of poverty. When you look at the growing population as the cause of poverty, that might be with respect to the illiteracy. With illiteracy or with disease burden, the human productivity is lost. When the human productivity is lost, the employability is lost. When the employability is lost, the income insecurity is existing. That means what it is showing? It is again showing that it is a cyclical concept. Again, with higher population, you know that certainly the upbringing cost is going to be more. The opportunity cost that is existing on the hands of the parents is more. And when you have this upbringing cost, then again you see that there is increased out-of-pocket expenditure. And increased out-of-pocket expenditure again leading to poverty, as we have discussed in the context of health, the 2020 question with respect to the COVID. Then again you see increased incidence of conflicts. Because of the increased incidence of conflicts, because what is happening is with population, there is going to be competition that is existing for resources. When resource competition is existing, you see that there is going to be conflict. When there is this conflict, the social capital will be lost, the investment potential will be lost. When the investment potential is lost, you automatically see the employment opportunities are lost. So this is again a vicious cycle. The second dimension it is asking, first dimension is the second dimension is poverty causes of population increase? Yes, because they believe that more the population, more the hands for working, more the income security, it is a better way to tackle poverty. That is what is the general perception that is seen. That is the reason why in the northern states we have high total fertility rates. Right? Then you see illiteracy. Illiteracy might lead to lack of awareness about the contraceptive usage. Again, lack of basic needs, again to balance the mortality, again to balance the fertility, because they might think if 4 die, at least 3 will live. That is a kind of balance that they are persisting with respect to the poverty as a phenomena that is existing. Then again you see low women education, high fertility rates. This relation is existing. Then you can conclude the answer talking about that poverty and population both are cyclical concepts and both have to be managed to realize what? To realize the demographic dividend of the region. Very, very simple question and straightforward question, and within our notes ambit, once we have made those dimensions in our notes. Now we have finished the sample question, let's look at the practice question. Maybe you can practice this, that despite implementation of various programs for eradication of poverty by government in India, poverty is still existing. Explain by giving reasons. Try to practice this, follow the structure, follow the dimensions, identify the number of parts that are present in the question, and try writing an answer. Thank you.